Here's your wrestling news for February 17th, 2026. Your headlines for today include Masked Figure interferes as The Vision defeat Usos and LA Knight, LA Knight's bold Raw claim about AAA tries his eyebrows, 3 things that could be inside WWE's mystery box, why WWE isn't allowing Dominik Mysterio to defend the Intercontinental title, WWE teases Femi's next opponent backstage on Raw, has WWE begun derailing a former US champion? CM Punk sparks tension with Judgment Day on Raw. What was said to Liv Morgan that made her cry on Raw? Another controversial booking decision on Raw. Javon Evans qualifies for Elimination Chamber 2026, and more. Monday Night Raw opened with Jimmy and Jey Uso entering through the crowd, but the focus quickly shifted away from the World Tag Team Champions. As the Usos addressed the audience, Paul Heyman interrupted alongside the Vision and demanded their music be cut. Heyman immediately redirected the conversation to last week's developments, centering everything around his faction, while the Usos stood in the crowd with minimal involvement. Adam Pearce eventually came out to restore order. The Vision had one demand: Bronson Reed be inserted into the Elimination Chamber match. Given Bron Breakker's injury, that chamber spot may have originally been his. Instead, Pearce announced that Reed will compete in a triple threat qualifier next week on Raw. LA Knight then emerged, mocked Logan Paul, and proposed a 6-man tag alongside the Usos. That match officially kicked off the night. During the bout, commentary repeatedly referenced Logan Paul's reported $16 million Pikachu Pokémon card sale, branding him the $16 million man, as the action unfolded. Despite several momentum swings, Bronson Reed secured the win for the Vision, giving him timely momentum ahead of his qualifier. After the match, Logan Paul grabbed Michael Cole's headset to continue talking trash, and that's when the masked attacker struck again out of nowhere, dropping him before escaping through the crowd. The mystery continues to build heading into Elimination Chamber. The mystery figure wasn't the only subtle development of the night. Eagle-eyed fans noticed LA Knight debuted a new t-shirt featuring the single word "Unchosen." The phrase appears to reference Drew McIntyre's former Chosen One moniker and perhaps signals Knight's own frustration with not being positioned as WWE's handpicked star. With Reed pushing for a chamber spot, the Vision consolidating power, and a masked figure still at large, the road to Elimination Chamber has grown more layered. So who's behind the mask, and was that Unchosen shirt a direct message? A human-sized crate showed up on Raw, and it may be tied directly to Elimination Chamber. Backstage, Adam Pearce was already frustrated following his confrontation with the Vision when a staff member informed him about a large crate that had just arrived. The staffer made it clear he had not opened it and had no idea what was inside. The box immediately stood out. Written across it were the words, "Do not open until February 28th. That date, of course, is the night of Elimination Chamber. Pearce briefly considered opening it anyway. He paused, thought it over, and ultimately decided against it. Instead, he told the staff member to send the crate to SmackDown, passing the problem to Nick Aldis. That decision only fueled speculation. The size of the crate has led some fans to believe it could signal a return. However, given the February 28th instruction, it seems unlikely anyone would physically be inside it for that long. Online theories surfaced almost immediately. One popular idea links the crate to Chris Jericho, who's been rumored for a WWE comeback. Some fans speculated the box could contain his iconic light-up jacket or something symbolic connected to Y2J, with the reveal timed for Elimination Chamber. Another theory suggests the crate could be tied to the ongoing Masked Attacker storyline, potentially containing clues or revealing the identity of the mystery figure. There's also speculation about Royce Keys. Fightful previously reported that Keys is expected to debut on SmackDown, and with Pearce sending the crate directly to Aldis' show, some believe the timing may not be a coincidence. For now, WWE has not provided any additional details. The crate remains sealed, the date is set, and Elimination Chamber just gained another layer of intrigue. So what do you think is inside the box? A returning star, a storyline twist, or something completely unexpected? It's becoming a familiar talking point. Dominik Mysterio still hasn't defended the Intercontinental Championship since winning it at War Games at the end of November. He's now been back on Raw for 3 weeks, more than enough time to schedule a title defense. Instead, Raw General Manager Adam Pearce placed him in an Elimination Chamber qualifier. On paper, that move raises questions. A straightforward solution would have been to have made the triple threat qualifier a championship match, adding stakes while addressing the lack of defenses. Meanwhile, Penta secured a future Intercontinental Championship opportunity on Raw by defeating El Grande Americano. The win positions him as the next challenger, but the timeline remains undefined. There was no clarification on when Dominik Mysterio vs. Penta will take place. It could happen as soon as next week. It could just as easily be delayed for months. WWE did not address it. That uncertainty is becoming the recurring theme. At this stage, the bigger question isn't who's next in line, it's when the Intercontinental Champion will actually defend the title. Enjoying the video? A quick like goes a long way in helping us grow and deliver more wrestling news you care about. Backstage, Adam Pearce met with Femi and officially offered him a Raw contract. That comes just days after Nick Aldis presented him with a SmackDown deal on Friday. For now, Femi hasn't committed to either brand, making it clear he needs more time before making a decision. WWE is clearly positioning this as a major recruitment battle, and it's hard to ignore the leverage Femi holds. 2 general managers, 2 contracts, 1 decision. But the bigger tease came moments later. Raw featured a brief but noticeable face-to-face between Femi and Rusev. Nothing physical happened, but the visual alone felt intentional. And eagle-eyed fans picked up on another detail. Rusev was wearing a Happy Rusev Day t-shirt, a nod to one of the most organically over catchphrases of his WWE run. Whether that's nostalgia, subtle character recalibration, or simply fan service remains to be seen. Whatever direction WWE ultimately chooses, if Femi vs. Rusev becomes official, the outcome could carry bigger implications than just a single win or loss. Logic says Oba will likely go over, and if that happens, it could further cool Rusev's momentum. Since returning, Rusev hasn't been anchored to a defining storyline. There haven't been layered promos, personal rivalries, or a sustained feud to re-establish him as a top heel. A loss to Oba wouldn't necessarily bury him, but perception matters. In today's landscape, back-to-back directionless programs can quietly slide a talent down the internal pecking order. With contract offers on the table and potential rivalries already being hinted at, Femi's next move could shift the balance on either brand. So where does Oba land? Raw? SmackDown? JD McDonough is back, and he's back standing behind Finn Balor. On Raw, Balor and the Judgment Day interrupted CM Punk, but there were a couple of subtle developments worth noting. First, Balor once again came out to his old theme song. We've heard it at the Belfast show and a few live events, but this time it felt more deliberate, possibly a permanent switch. The bigger shift came during the promo. CM Punk leaned into psychological warfare. After Balor listed his resume of accomplishments, Punk acknowledged it, but then reframed it. "You did do all that and you were great, but you didn't have Judgment Day by your side." Punk then delivered the line that changed the tone. "You'd think you'd elevate Judgment Day to your level, but actually all that's happened is Judgment Day have brought you down to theirs." Instead of reacting immediately, Balor paused. When JD McDonough and Dominik Mysterio looked ready to attack, Finn stopped them. He held them back. That hesitation didn't go unnoticed. For months, Balor has operated as the centerpiece of Judgment Day, but Punk's words introduced doubt, not just for the audience, but possibly for Finn himself. Was that moment simply restraint, or was it the first crack? Between the return of his old theme, the visible pause, and Punk's targeted measuring, the pieces are quietly aligning. Is this the beginning of a Finn Balor babyface turn? And could this finally be the storyline that pulls him away from the Judgment Day? Liv Morgan and Dominik Mysterio were mid-interview with Michael Cole when the segment took a sharp turn. Morgan was reflecting on the grind it took to win this year's Women's Royal Rumble and earn her WrestleMania title opportunity. She emphasized the hard work behind her success, but stopped short of revealing which champion she planned to challenge. That's when Women's World Champion Stephanie Vaquer interrupted. Vaquer delivered a promo entirely in Spanish, and the tone alone shifted the atmosphere. As she spoke, Morgan's expression changed. By the end of it, she was visibly emotional. Now the full translation has surfaced, and the message was direct. Vaquer questioned Morgan's narrative of sacrifice and argued that Morgan had advantages from the start. "You talking about hard work? What the hell are you talking about? You haven't sacrificed anything. WWE has handed you everything. You started your career here. You have the best doctors, the best trainers, you have everything. You want to talk about sacrifice? I was born in Chile, where wrestling doesn't exist, and still traveled the world. Japan, Mexico, Latin America, Europe, conquered everything. Dominik Mysterio translated the promo in real time, relaying Vaccair's words to Morgan. The second half hit even harder, as Vaccair suggested Morgan hides behind the Judgment Day and leans on Dominik rather than standing on her own. You should be ashamed in hiding behind Judgment Day. By hiding behind a man, you need to hide behind a man, but I'll tell you something. I went through hell and made it mine, just to make it to WWE and become champion. This championship means more to me than just a title. It's for all the little girls and women that haven't had opportunity but still succeeded. Morgan was clearly shaken as her accomplishments were dismantled point by point. Dominik attempted to console her as the segment closed. The emotional response may end up being the deciding factor. After that exchange, it feels increasingly likely that Morgan chooses Vaccair as a WrestleMania opponent. WWE's handling of Bayley continues to raise questions. In her Elimination Chamber qualifier against Asuka and Natalya, the expectation for many was that Asuka would advance. That part wasn't surprising. The finish, however, is what drew attention. Instead of incorporating Maxine Dupree into the result, given her ongoing issues with Natalya, Asuka won clean by forcing Bayley to submit. Dupree only attacked Natty after the match was already decided. From a structural standpoint, there was an opportunity to intertwine the feud with the qualifier. Dupree costing her former mentor could have protected both Bayley and Natalya, while still allowing Asuka to capitalize and advance. Instead, Bayley absorbed the submission loss outright. If the priority was protecting Natalya rather than Bayley in this scenario, it adds another layer to the broader conversation around creative direction. Is this part of a larger plan for Bayley, or does it reflect shifting priorities in the women's division? AJ Lee returned on Raw to address her upcoming Elimination Chamber match against Becky Lynch. Lee called out big-time Bex, and the women's Intercontinental Champion didn't keep her waiting. Lynch leaned into her larger-than-life persona, dismissing the idea of AJ becoming champion again and making it clear she intends to end that possibility in Chicago. AJ pushed back. She challenged Lynch to step into the ring and even offered her the first strike, an invitation meant to test Lynch's bravado. Lynch declined. Instead of engaging physically, she backed away, leaving the Memphis crowd loudly jeering the man as the segment closed. Becky's willingness to look foolish for the sake of the story remains as significant a reason as any for her continued success. An interesting segment that did not further the feud, but also did not feel like a total waste either, thanks to the content of the women's performances. This week's episode of Monday Night Raw in Memphis closed with a big money matchup, a triple threat to determine who would qualify for the men's Elimination Chamber match. Gunther, riding high after retiring some of the greatest wrestlers of all time over the past couple of months, squared off against the upstart Javon Evans and Intercontinental Champion Dominik Mysterio. On paper, Gunther felt like a slam dunk to advance, but Dragon Lee appeared out of nowhere with the ring bell and took out the ring general. That opened the door for Dirty Dom, who capitalized with a 619 on Evans. However, when Mysterio went for the frog splash, Evans rolled out of the way. The former NXT standout then connected with the OG cutter and scored the pinfall victory. Crowd reaction to Evans winning was top-notch. WWE isn't even pushing him that aggressively yet, and he's already getting responses like this. Is he winning the chamber? Probably not, but they now have a ready-made program with Dirty Dom if they choose to go in that direction. WWE closed Raw with an interesting announcement. Next week will feature a tribute show dedicated to AJ Styles following his recent retirement at the hands of Gunther. That immediately raises questions. When a tribute segment is announced this far in advance, especially tied to a forced retirement angle, it rarely ends quietly. Gunther's involvement feels almost inevitable. Whether it's a confrontation, a final insult, or something that reopens the story, it's hard to imagine the ring general is staying on the sidelines. If the retirement angle is truly finished, the tribute could be a send-off, but if WWE plans to extend the story, next week may be the trigger point. That wraps up Raw. What did you think of the show overall? What's inside the crate? Is Finn Balor slowly breaking away from Judgment Day? And which segment stood out to you the most, and why? Sound off in the comments below. Don't miss our next video coming at 5:30 p.m. Eastern with all the latest wrestling updates. Smash that bell icon and select all notifications so you're always in the loop.